Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau, video producer and a Christian. And on the case of government today,
I'm Jim Linsdau, Timothy's brother. I'm a journalist, a writer-director, and also a Christian.
are politics ruining government?
Well, let's take it from the Bible. What does the Bible say about government? Well, we can go to 1 Peter, written by Simon Peter, and he says, "Submit yourself to the for the Lord's sake, to every authority instituted among men." They're sent to punish those who do wrong, or to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish men. Live as free men, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Paul?
Okay, Apostle Paul in Romans 13:1. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there's no authority except which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God, for he is God's servant to do you good.
Okay, so now we're going to bring politics into it, because we know what the government really is, and we can, go over the fact that government's established to make laws, enforce those laws, regulate, serve, and protect. However, politics can get in the way of good government through a number of ways.
Well, anarchy is no government, mob rule. That is the definition of anarchy.
Right. So you can see what happens if you don't have government is that, it's kill or be killed. It's just like the Old West. So, yeah, we need government. But we were warned about politics by our first president, George Washington, who said adamantly in his parting speech, do not form political parties.
I think I was a little taken back by that. Of course, we live in a political party world of many kind, with mainly a two-party system. But I better understand that without the parties, you had a group of, say, Congress and individual thinkers. They weren't wrapped up on party platforms. And it made it easier to compromise and establish maybe more sensible law.
Well, I think if you look at the political parties and really the way that they have begun to define themselves most recently, of course, we've had this kind of two-party system for many, many years, centuries really, in that they develop what they call a platform, but it's really kind of an ideology. And if you don't conform to that ideology, then your chances of being elected are real slim. Because we know that people have run as independents. We know that people have run Green Party, Libertarian, different parties. Very, very difficult to get elected in those particular parties. So you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican if you're serious about getting elected. And if you are, then you have to conform to what the platform of that party is.
Yeah, well, and what the result of that is a lack of independent thought. And then people start to use political correctness, if you will, to support their position. They'll find some phrase that works, that seems to ring a bell with people, and then that becomes their mantra, such as hate speech, hate crime, as an example.
Racism, social justice, and even political hate. There is even now things going on that indicates that there's real animosity between the parties, not just simply differences of opinion or difference of ideology. And that then leads to things like government overreach, where you battle over the environment. Are we destroying the environment? Do we have to save the planet? Does science say that the climate is going to get so bad that we won't be able to grow food in the United States? And then things like the welfare state and taxation are bones of contention by which no agreement is reached, either by compromise or otherwise, but is basically either dies on the vine, or the party in control just simply passes what it is they want.
I was just thinking about the environmental issue. The argument is so strident, if you will, that science really becomes second place. And it becomes conjecture, propaganda, and is not science anymore.
It becomes political science, really. And that's unfortunate, because science is an entity within our across the globe that is based on discovery of the truth. But when you use information, data that really only supports one side and doesn't support the other side, now you're not getting true science anymore. And that is truly unfortunate.
That's for sure. Welfare and taxation. That can be used against you, definitely politically driven, much of this, even though there are real situations for welfare, no doubt about it. But it becomes a weapon that people use against you to support their position.
That's true, and that's unfortunate, just like taxation, because taxation now, we're told, this is what the tax is for. But politics has taken that money and used it for other things. Take, for instance, Social Security. Social Security used to be a fund that we all paid into. Well, we're still paying into it, but that fund's been decimated. It went to other political means, and so now Social Security operates on a credit system.
Well, and doesn't that put us into an impossible mess with the deficit spending and creating the national debt? Talking $20 trillion, but the vast majority of the annual budget is going to Social Security and Medicare. Well, being retired, I know how important that is, and it makes it almost impossible to make any discussion, because nobody wants to touch how to improve, how to solve it, because everybody's afraid it's going to be gone. Well, yeah, it probably will be gone.
And, that's government meddling in economics, which in our system is not a good thing, because the economy runs based on entrepreneurship, a strong middle class, the ability to gain wealth, holding people accountable because we have competition, and when one company fails, another company can pick it up. But when they compete, we, the people, benefit from that competition.
Yes. Let's move on to corruption of bureaucracies. I mean, bureaucracies have been formed to become an entity to themselves that is constantly restricting us from our economy and our efforts. Yes, we shouldn't be destroying the planet, but one of the things I learned many years ago is that these bureaucracies, people who run these bureaucracies, are not elected, none of them. But the process of advancement for a manager of one of these departments is based on the number of people that work for them. So what might you think they would do to get a raise?
Unfortunately, they play politics. And that's what they do. And politicians then use these bureaucracies to get the things that they want, as opposed to debate in the House or debate in the Senate, or working with the president's administration to try to get things done. So we have that as a problem. Then that breeds a possibility of kickbacks, bribes, and even voter fraud. So the corruption now, the table gets set for that, and politics really starts to bring down the benefits that government is to bring to us. And before we go, I think we need to talk about government and what the government's really designed to do.
I think we'll let's go into regulation of trade. Where does that leave us, especially with the present president?
Well, I think, with the regulation of trade, you have to have it's a form of diplomacy by which you have a product that a certain country wants, and they have a product that you want. So you regulate that trade so each gets the benefit that they need without one taking advantage of the other. Because when you have a situation by which somebody's taking advantage of the other, that can lead to conflict and war.
Well, we need a solid middle class, and that comes from a good economy, in proper regulation and fairness in trade that doesn't take our jobs away.
When government gets too involved with economics, you begin to have the haves and the have-nots, and you disintegrate your middle class, and then your middle class, once that disappears, now the lower class becomes dependent upon the upper class, and the upper class begins to rule. And if you look at a case study like Venezuela, that's what you have going on now.
It must support entrepreneurship. It must support that pursuit of happiness, that one has the opportunity to pursue what is their talents and skills. One of our great successes is the ability to capture the minds of the people, all the people, to apply what they've learned to their economy, thereby giving us inventions of new things.
Yeah, and you need a nonpartisan justice system. If your justice system becomes partisan, it not only plays the political game to cripple a government and what it attempts to do, whether it holds money back from certain bureaucracies or certain government entities that we need, then that starts to fail us. I mean, here in California, I remember when the Jarvis-Gann bill passed, cutting property taxes. They started attacking the libraries and saying, okay, you can't have libraries anymore because we can't raise that tax money. That's a partisan thing, and you don't want to go up before a judge and think to yourself, I don't know who he voted for, but I better not let him know who I voted for, because if it's different, I may get a different set of scales when it comes to justice.
Exactly. It damages our law enforcement. As with the Justice Department today, has really become partisan, political. Rather than enforcing the law, they're encouraging a law that fits their politics. And what happens? We become lawless. And when you become lawless, then you're falling into the realm of anarchy.
Now, that's the truth. It's like, again, if you go back to the Old West, string them up. Yeah, there's nobody to stop you from doing that. That's the survival of the fittest right there. But we need government. We need government for our infrastructure, and we need government to supply law enforcement, fire and emergency, and our infrastructure.
Yes, exactly. We need that combined effort to give us the utilities we need on a consistent basis, and that's where government works best.
So I'd like to say, let's drop the politics and let's get back to good government, because this country was founded on that principle, and the Bible supports that.
And yes, our politics ruining our government. Let's hope not. Let's hope it improves. I'm Timothy Linsdau. Like and comment on our video and subscribe to my channel.
Thank you.